Happy primary day and election day. Welcome back, James.
Well, thank you, Harry. It's good to be back. For 5 hours or so, we'll know where we stand. And I'm like everybody else. I want to see Pennsylvania returns bad. It's a very critical state. We cannot keep or expand our Senate majority without winning Pennsylvania. So you can't pay too much attention to it, in my opinion.
As you say, can't pay too much attention. It's one of those big states like Ohio, which matters for the sheer numbers. It also sometimes matters as a bellwether. As I've reminded viewers, it went Biden, but it has a lot of this right-wing energy there as well in that primary. Let's start with your reaction both to the entire Republican side of the race in PA, as well as what Dr. Oz said in what some are calling his My Little Pillow closing remarks. Take a look.
I'm that bold voice President Trump called out that we need to have in Washington, D.C. to represent our Pennsylvania values. When you go to bed at night and put your head on that soft pillow, you know Oz will be doing exactly what you want him to do if you were there next to him.
If you were there next to him, James, your thoughts on the whole race?
So, sorry, my thoughts go back to a little less than a month ago when I was on this show, and we talked about how weird the Republican Party had become. It's now hypersonic weird. We've gone through this horrific leak of a Supreme Court decision. We've actually seen over 25% of the House Republican caucus side with a hostile foreign power, namely Russia, and against Ukraine. We've seen the replacement theory, which you know as well as anybody, that this is a horrific anti-Semite racist thing that's been around historically forever, come to its inevitable fruition, and it will continue to do this. And we're in a very, very difficult time with a major American political party that has just become hypersonic weird, and it has to be stopped. And the only way to stop this is at the ballot box. You're not going to stop it by going and wasting your time demonstrating in front of Justice Kavanaugh or Senator Collins' house. What a waste of time. Washington needs to get out of Washington and go to Michigan and Wisconsin and North Carolina and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Nevada and Arizona, where all these competitive races are taking place. This whole future of the country is going to be decided in November. And the faster we understand that, the better off we're going to be.
Let me play a little bit of what we heard from Kathy Barnett, because this is the kind of individual who can tie a Dr. Oz. You think about Oz has Trump behind him, got celebrity, money, etc. But it would seem that there is a dividend, almost like you mentioned replacement theory, what happens in some of these far-right places and where the parties in Europe, they move to the right, and there's a dividend for this kind of crazy and this kind of hate. Here's just some of what she said.
The mindset of a Muslim is very different from the mindset of Americans.
The new natural law is 2 men, 2 women, and pretty soon, since it's based on love and feelings and respect and dignity, who are we to now say that your love is legitimate love, but then let's say a pedophile man love with a boy, a 12-year-old boy, is illegitimate.
Barack Hussein Obama, I try to mention his name as much as possible, thinking that at some point a light bulb is going to go off in someone's head.
James.
Well, I mean, first of all, the Pennsylvania Republicans, I mean, this is a party like of John Hines or William Scranton or even Dick Thornburgh or people like this. This has become a completely goofy, batty political party. But when she leaked the fact, or I'm sure she leaked it, or whoever did it, she's not mad about it, that she was there on January the 6th, that's not going to do anything but help her. And by the way, Dr. Oz is one giant fraud. If you don't believe me, everybody should watch the John Oliver take on Dr. Oz. This guy is a walking massive fraud. And, of course, Trump comes in, and he's going totally MAGA. And Pennsylvania is a state that I know very well. I've really got my first success in national politics there. I got so many friends there. But we better wake up, because if we don't win this Senate seat in November, we're not us, the Democrats, the country is in really, really, really deep trouble. And I don't know if it's going to be, Barnett, or if it's going to be Dr. Oz. McCormick is just, another, slavish J.D. Vance kind of guy. But We got to come together. We got to win this election in November and be more effective and get out there and realize just how serious a threat that we face here in the United States.
And what are you watching in the other states? So we mentioned PA, but we have Kentucky, Idaho, et cetera.
Well, obviously, we'll be watching North Carolina very closely. I think we got a terrific candidate there. Chief Justice Beasley, the North Carolina Supreme Court. I think that's going to determine a lot. I'm a little bit more national focused. Idaho is Idaho, but, it's kind of fun to watch this. But most of my focus tonight is primarily going to be on Pennsylvania and North Carolina. And I also want to see, because I've been very disappointed in Democratic turnout so far in some of the earlier primaries. If the Democrats don't wake up and understand what they're dealing with and unify and get behind us and get out of Washington and get out of New York and get out in the rest of the country and understand the threat we're against, we're going to be in trouble in November. So I'm just going to not be looking at the raw returns tonight. I'll also be looking at turnout, which we're not doing that well so far.
Well, you mentioned Vance, who went from a never-Trumper to saying Trump was the best president ever, which really calls into question his use of the word never, among other things, James. We had our field reporters out, and we're going to be covering this tonight through late in the night, Steve Kornacki and the whole gang. But out in the field, our field reporters were talking to folks about how much the Trump endorsement matters and the primaries on the GOP side. Take a look.
Did Trump's endorsement mean anything, or?
A little bit, but that wasn't my overall decision making.
I think it did. It did.
I guess would probably be the sole purpose of why I went with him.
I love Donald Trump, but I mean, he doesn't rule my life. I have my own mind to make up my own mind.
I'm not a Trumper. I mean, I like Trump. I voted for him, but I'm not a Trumper.
James, give us your view of what we hear there, as well as something that folks may not realize is a relatively uncommon, which is midterms, contested primaries usually don't have former presidents getting this involved in the first place.
So, all right, let me be very frank here. The person that's going to watch the midterm elections the closest is one Samuel Alito. And if it turns out, as the pronunciators say, it's a big Republican victory, that's just going to tell him to highball, green light it. And you look at what happened in Buffalo, and as sickening as that is, there's a gun case that's going to be decided by the Supreme Court that in all likelihood is going to make it a national right to carry concealed weapons. Understand this. They don't care about Democrats because they think that we're ineffective, that we disorganize, that we whiny, and that we just stay on the coast. And they're going to run away with elections in the rest of the country. And I have to be honest, they have good reason for thinking that. Samuel Alito has no fear of Democrats, of the progressive movement, of gun responsibility groups, of women's health groups, of environmental groups. He thinks, and most of them think, as does Tucker Carlson, they think it's all a big joke. And I got to tell you, history is on their side right now. I hope we can prove them wrong.